What's up everyone, it's Dakota and welcome back to another modern video, and for the first time in a while I'm actually bringing you some modern gameplay. We're going to be playing the Thopter combo deck that we went over at the beginning of the week. If you have not seen that deck tech and you want a little bit deeper of an explanation than what I'm going to give you in this to start before we actually get into the matches, be sure to check out that video. Essentially what Thopter combo is, it's trying to assemble at least these two cards. It's trying to get Thopter Foundry, which says that you can pay one and sacrifice a non-token artifact to create a 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature token with flying. You gain a life. And then the card Sword of the Meek. Sword of the Meek giving the equipped creature +1/+2, equipping for 2. Doesn't really matter. The important thing is that whatever a 1/1 creature enters the battlefield under our control, you may return Sword of the Meek from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to that creature, or then you may you return it and then you attach to the creature. So essentially, if we have Thopter Foundry and Sword of the Meek in play, we can make a number of Thopters every turn cycle equal to the amount of mana that we can produce. So if we can produce 10 mana, we can make 10 tokens and gain 10 life. Throw Urza Lord High Artificer to the mix, and then you are able to create an infinitely large amount of 1/1s, gain that much life, and then have a infinitely big Urza Saga like construct token. So that is the general idea of the deck. For some redundancy, we have like Stoneforge Mystics and Ingenious Smith. While it doesn't necessarily look for a equipment like our Stoneforge Mystic does, Ingenious Smith does let you look at the top 4 cards of your library and get an artifact from them, so it'll actually let you find the Thopter Foundry or look for Sword of the Meek. There's also some of these other artifacts that we play in our deck, like Portable Hole for removal, Aether Spellbomb, which can be searched up with Urza Saga that's in our deck, and just these random assortment of like artifacts that can help us live long enough to assemble Thopter Foundry plus Sword of the Meek, possibly even slam an Urza as well and just win the game. So that's essentially the idea of the deck. The sideboard, we have some pretty sweet cards that usually make the main deck of other decks, but since we are a combo deck at heart, that's essentially what we're trying to do. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into some of the matches. I'll be commentating them live so you see my kind of thought process. A little disclaimer before we start, I am definitely not going to be perfect. Everyone saw that with the Through the Breach list that we played, or it's not even Through the Breach, it's the dumb breach deck or whatever that is like super awesome but like takes a PhD to actually play. I messed up playing that deck. I had it pointed out in the comments. I appreciate that to essentially help me be a better player and stuff. So that being said, I will definitely probably misplay in some of these matches. I apologize for that in advance. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into some of the games. So here we have game one. This is the hand that we have to work with. The Stoneforge Mystic finds our combo piece essentially in our Sword of the Meek. The rest of this hand really doesn't do much. It's a lot of lands. We do have like an Urza Saga, so like we could, in theory, fetch something up, but I think we can be pretty aggressive at least. Oh, well, we accidentally kept. Cool. I know how to moto. Um, in that case, we'll start with the tapped land and say go set up to like play Urza Saga and Stoneforge Mystic, and then we kind of have the option to put a sword into play or start making constructs with this Urza Saga in upcoming turns. A general idea that I like doing with combo decks, of course, and I immediately contradict what I was just talking about. I feel like playing certain combo decks, like you are able to kind of be more aggressive with mulliganing. At least you want to be kind of selective with like your 7 card hands, especially with how. Ooh, so this is either goblins or merfolk. I'm gonna hazard a guess. So essentially, I like being more aggressive with like combo decks, especially with the mulligan rules that we have now in Magic, where you are just kind of able to uh, draw 7 and then, you know, you're able to draw 7 cards and then put one back. So like you're able to kind of like find some of your pieces and stuff like that a lot faster. So assuming tick up Aether Vial. I'm going to assume Merfolk because I think Merfolk is the most popular, and of course we see an island. They have double Aether Vial, which could be pretty good or bad, seeing how the rest of their hand is shaped. Draw another land. That's not great. We can play this coast because the coast isn't going to be able to come into play untapped past this turn, so we'll pass the turn. We'll see what they do. Making constructs kind of bad if they have Trickster, because Trickster will essentially make it a 0/0 and kill it. Dismember on the Stoneforge Mystic. We're probably fine with letting that go. If they wanted to spend 16 life for it, a construct can end the game pretty quickly. We might just be on the make a construct, untap, make another construct, go get a thing, and then start beating down from there. Like, we have this relic. We do have swords as well. So, alright, animate Mutavault. So must not have a whole lot going on, or just Aether Vials on 2 and 1 are pretty good for them. So obviously we'll just take 2. They probably have a Lord. I'm assuming this is like a Lord of Atlantis or something. Yeah, exactly, Lord of Atlantis. So we could be in trouble here. We technically don't have an island yet, so we can block these, block their merfolk. Look at that in the bridge too. We drew a land. I'm just gonna make another construct. And then we will go get... And actually, we can kind of strand them with this, because then we can name Aether Vial. I believe Pithing Needle, you choose a card name. So, like, we could have named Mutavault, and we could have stopped it from, like, activating, but definitely getting to just nullify 2 cards is really nice. And then I'm actually going to go play this, and then we'll play the Relic, just so we can actually pump up our construct tokens, and we can actually start being aggressive and just kind of start firing in there. Worth noting, they missed a land drop last turn as well, the past few turns actually, so definitely them not responding to our final chapter of Urza Saga, knowing that like there's a possibility that we could just get Pithing Needle. Yep, and that actually wins us the game, so yeah, definitely something to know going into the future in that, and something that kind of came up when Urza Saga was first printed, that once you are searching your library for the artifact card, you just get to put the card into play. So if you have Pithing Needle, which forces you to name a card, essentially if your opponent lets the Urza Saga trigger resolve and you go get Pithing Needle, you just get to name it, and at no point do they get to activate the card that you named. They don't get a chance to respond. So definitely, wow, and we were drawing another land, so definitely not what this deck wants to be doing. Definitely could have been a lot more aggressive. Didn't plan on obviously drawing that many lands, but just getting to make constructs and our opponent misstepping like that went from a game that could have been pretty even to heavily in our favor, especially just getting to jam with a bunch of 5/5s each turn. So now we have... How much time do we have? We have like 2 minutes. All right. So I would imagine, and I hate the fact that my sliders make these cards so small. I want to actually be able to see them. So we have Merfolk. What do I want here? No, I think Kaldra has Trample. I think I'm okay with that. Sword of the Meek. Wow, we could definitely keep our combo. Esper Sentinel's alright. I'm going to take out the... Where are they? I'm going to trim it to Rebuke, trim it to Fairy. They're not really casting their things at instant speed. Getting to counter something, they're able to get to the board pretty quickly, especially on the draw. So on the draw, I'm actually going to side out 2 of these. Bring in a sword. Like, we could just use this to like get through damage with like a big construct and also pick something off. Probably Solitude. There's a Relic of Progenitus. Like, we really don't need that in this matchup. Might be able to keep it in if we just have some stuff that we don't necessarily like. I don't know if I want Wear Tear for... I don't want Wear Tear for that. Stonebrain, choose a card. Not very good. Don't care about Damping Sphere. We might just keep Relics in. We'll bring in the Supreme Verdict too. That's like another white card that we can bring in. That might not be right, but at least that gives us a way that if they go wide and they essentially don't kill us on that turn, we're able to Verdict and definitely get some value out of it. If they have a hand that's like pretty heavy on like Aether Vial, like they had last game, and they're actually able to vial in creatures and stuff, then that could be a problem for us going forward. But definitely good that we have the benefit of winning game one so that we can kind of try some things out, especially when we're kind of learning how to play this deck. Um, we draw one of the relics, which is not very good. We have a Springleaf Drum that doesn't really make mana yet, but we have a portable hole and like a spell bomb that can kind of like tempo them out. So I'm actually going to keep this hand, and we're able just to kind of make construct tokens for multiple turns. Opponent has the Aether Vial. Battlefield target non-land permanent. So we're actually going to be super aggressive with this portable hole. And even though we drew the Esper Sentinel, we're going to portable hole the Aether Vial. Oh, alright, I don't want to. Probably could just yield to that. Got nothing else going on. We can yield to their turn. And they don't actually activate. And we draw the Cauldra, which is kind of a shame, but is what it is. So we can play this. And we can kind of just dump our hand. They're going to respond to our Urza Saga trigger. I believe if they could turn to an island in instant speed, that could be pretty problematic. Springleaf Drum. They don't have any like regular like colored mana either. Unless they just have this. Counter target non-creature spell. Okay. Don't know. I guess that they don't think that we have any more mana, so like we can actually just cast this, and then we're done. And just from here, like we have 1, 2, 3, 4 artifacts in play. So the construct tokens we're gonna make, they're gonna be 5/5s. And we could just plan on getting a Shadow Spear, and then it's essentially impossible for them to race. But this Tide Shaper does kind of suck because now they get to kill our Urza Saga. The way that it works is they turn it into the land becomes an island, and not in addition to its other types, it just becomes an island. And because of that, Urza Saga ends up going away. But thankfully, we have a second one, and we have a Springleaf Drum, so kind of sucks getting set back a turn, but it is what it is. Play another Esper Sentinel. If our opponent lets it resolve, because they can only counter non-creature spells. And we're actually able to play the Relic of Progenitus and pay if they decide they really want to like stop that. I mean, they're not going to. That there's just no reason to, but you know that is definitely a legal play that they can make. Play this. No reason to attack because obviously their Tide Shaper is buff. However, if they decide to play like a Dismember or something like that, you know they can only pay for like one of them. We do have the option to like bounce a creature if it comes up. Wow, another Tide Shaper. That is wholly unlucky. Now we're in kind of some trouble because like they're just able to double Stone Rain us, which is unfortunate. They really only get to get in with Tide Shaper, but if they're only hitting for, 2 this turn, we're fine with waiting an extra turn. And then we will sack Relic, draw a card, drew another land, Aurora. Really unfortunate. We're just kind of playing like the basically like the blue-white hammer deck. Just we're obviously a significantly worse hammer deck because we don't have hammers and we haven't drawn anything that would make us like super explosive. Really wanting our opponent to like actually play something kind of like dumb. I mean, so like we decide to attack. This has flash, so like if we bounce it, they could just flash it back in. So like we'll just take the damage for now. Go to 12. Get this Hallowed Fountain tap. We'll leave the Triome in our deck just so we have like a way that we could just cycle later if we need to. We'll play this Otawara. And now they'll have to sacrifice 2 Tide Shapers or flash in another Merfolk to be able to do it. Or I guess they could activate their Mutavault and then like sack and like we're kind of down a lot of material, but is what it is. Why are these 3/3s? Oh, it gets +1/+1 as long as it controls an island. Huh. So we actually buffed our opponent's Tide Shapers. But this creature is going to be pretty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's a 6/6 that we have, and that's pretty big. It does block both of their creatures. So we will pay for it. So if you want to sacrifice another Tide Shaper or sacrifice your Mutavault, that is totally fine with me. Are you really going to Stone Rain yourself just to... Oh, wow, okay. You got it. I cannot pay for this Hex Catcher. So we have 3, 4 mana. We're pretty far away from this Cauldron, but I mean, if we draw like a... What's it? A Stoneforge Mystic. That'd be kind of nice. I don't know what other card. They must have like a bunch of double blue like lords in hand. They have Dismember too. Oh baby. So we just draw 2 cards. All right, not what we wanted to see. We draw Thopter Foundry. So if we do find Sword, we'll still be able to put them both into play, and then it's going to be very hard for our opponent to kind of beat that, honestly. And we get to draw another card. Oh baby. All right. So that's huge. That is very huge. We can even just turn some of these like random artifacts into actual like spells or into just like 1/1s. Play Talisman of Progress. Return target creature to its owner's hand. All right. So yeah, like we kind of just get to mess with them trying to go after us. Kind of sucks that the sword is not a 1 mana thing, or else like we would just kind of be like set up to go. But it is what it is. So I could. I think we probably got as much use out of the Esper Sentinel as we can get, so should have sacked it. That was a misplay on my part. Again, just but now we'll just untap. Now we have that, so we can go Shadow Spear. Then we can actually go make a construct, equip, get to leave it untapped, still get to Aether Spellbomb if we want to. Obviously could also just like make a Thopter as well. This way our opponent, if they attack, they'll have to have like an Island Walker, and even if they do, like we still just have like bounce it to our opponent's hand. Like this could just be a Lord of Atlantis. Merfolk Trickster. So this actually shouldn't work because I believe the Shadow Spear will keep it alive. It's like we'll just take our beats here. And then they shouldn't have any way. Oh, dismember. Okay. That's definitely a way to hurt us. Now we're kind of hoping to draw something. Um, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't think we have a 1-drop creature. I don't think we can make enough. We will make a 1/1. Get a chromatic star. We will pay 1. Sacrifice another non-token artifact. Because star just cares about going to the graveyard, we'll actually get to draw a card. We'll make a Thopter. Seachrome Coast. Go back at it again. Leave up the bounce. They go to 2, so they probably have like a Lord of Atlantis. Or if they have another Trickster, I suppose. Uh, hmm. Another Dismember. So if we bounce this to 6, takes the most power off the board. If we go to 6, block 7, I think we're dead. I think we just misplayed, which I guess should not surprise me. So yeah, I think we're dead. Blue bounces 2, 2, 4, 6. Yeah, that's a shame. They had exactly what they needed. Tricky. I keep getting paired against Merfolk, and I am obviously not the biggest fan of Merfolk. Oh, so what the heck are we doing here? I think I like kind of like running. I'm gonna run it back. I'm gonna run it back. Our deck did slightly cooler things that game, and we still ended up losing. So, is what it is. We just need to play a little bit better. This hand, I don't know if it actually plays better. Decent amount of stuff. So like we could like portable hole, like one of the things. Like this is a hand that eventually I guess does something like the Stoneforge Mystic going and getting a sword could. Let's be a little bit bold. Let's hope that fortune favors the bold and we can just kind of do our own thing here. So they said hello. No, I definitely want the game log. Show the game log, hide the chat. They mulligan to 6, mulligan to 5, okay. So definitely having double portable hole could absolutely kind of punish them. So, or I could just like I could blind name something with Pithing Needle. No reason to give them a chance to like kind of kill us in this game. We can obviously take it slow. We're gonna be trying to like developing our mana here. So like if they just go like Aether Vial, Rashadan Dockhand. All right, well. All right, we have some decisions here. If we would have just let on Springleaf Drum, that would have been good for us because then we could have done things and stuff. Instead, we'll go whole, do that, and then we'll play drum. Essentially, like, if we just let them have this dock hand, then, like, we're going to be short on mana while they're probably trying to either draw out of or draw gas, so we just don't want to give them things to do with their mana. Two mana, Lord of Atlantis. Perfect for us. We can go Stoneforge. Yes. Actually just get Sword of Fire and Ice, and then we're going to Portable Hole this. That should blunt a lot of offense from them, because like that's huge, especially since like we had to keep a hand with Hollowed Fountain in it. And of course immediately punished for not just getting this in the first place. Full tilt. Awkward too, because like we can't do the things. Probably take a turn off sword. I guess if they want to dismember this, they have to do it in response to this. Or else we just get to do all the things. Thopter Foundry, I guess if they have like Spell Pierce, you got us. Or I guess if you want to, yes, I guess if you want to sacrifice this to essentially, or Stone Rain yourself too, that works. Yeah, that's perfectly fine with us because like I said, I guess sort of kind of punished for searching up Sword of Fire and Ice instead of our other sword, Sword of the Meek. But is what it is. I guess I'm fine with that. They must have just had like a crazy like land heavy hand, so definitely letting them have that extortionist would have been terrible. Have plenty of mana so they can actually pay for the Esper Sentinel, which kind of sucks, but is what it is. Now we are actually able to play Pithing Needle, name their Aether Vial, even though Vial is probably not going to be even like all that great here. So maybe we don't. We probably just play Esper Sentinel. I guess if they get to play like one Merfolk a turn, they just don't like have to use their mana, so they could like pay for Esper Sentinel. But then if they're paying for Esper Sentinel, they're also using having to use their lands and not having to use Aether Vial. So we're probably fine with naming that. Like, there's probably not any other cards that like we want to name. And we're pretty set up. Like, we kind of have an emergency button if we ever hit our fourth land or our third land for Supreme Verdict. But we do get to put a sword into play and then just put it like on an Esper Sentinel and go to town. As if they're drawing lands, like there's not very many like merfolk that require this much mana, so put equipment into play. Perfect. Well, obviously not a temporary or a permanent solution. This is a solution nonetheless. Equip it to a sentinel. So if they do want to dismember it, they have to dismember it now, but then we can make mana. Now that they basically will let us draw like a card with this. And Sword of Fire and Ice should kind of put this game away if we do get to hit with it. Hurkyl's Recall. Kind of brutal. So they pay for one, we get to draw with the other one. That does suck, so it bounces like all this stuff. Portable hole. Hurkyl's Recall being their last card's pretty brutal. Not gonna lie. 3, 6, 7, 8. I'm actually not gonna keep Pithing Needle around. Hopefully we can draw like an untapped land, just continue to develop our mana. Do they have another Lord of it? Oh, okay, Hexcatcher. Island Walk, I cannot block either of them. Untapped land would be great. Flooded Strand counts. Should we have double white? Supreme Verdict, get rid of all these idiots. And then next turn we'll be able to, we can like make a construct. Depending on what we do, like make a construct, play Springleaf Drum, play an Esper Sentinel, or play like a portable hole like their next thing. Make a construct. We have things we could do with our mana, but I'd rather just attempt to actually kill them. Grab Shadow Spear. Play this, play a drum. Play Esper Sentinel. Dismember, sure. Play Esper Sentinel, go, and we have enough mana to play Sword Equip. They'd have to have another, well, I guess even like having a Hex Catcher doesn't do anything because it makes us pay 1, and we're just not able to do anything at that turn. So Aether Vial goes up to 3. They play an island, and they concede. So yeah, we were definitely going to be winning that game. Well, I think it just booted me out of it. So yeah, we'll go on to the next match. That was something, wasn't it? Here we are for game 2, playing the Thopter combo deck. Unfortunately, in that first match, we really didn't get to show off the combo. Our opponent mulligans to 6 cards. Our hand is pretty decent. We have double blue because we're probably going to name human with this cavern, so we'll keep it. We have a little bit of interaction. We have ways to dig for our combo with Stoneforge Mystic getting our Sword of the Meek, and Genius Smith giving us 4 looks at our Thopter Foundry. And like I said, just decent mana, definitely all the colors that we could want. We get to play Magic on the first few turns of the game. Opponent mulligan to 5, probably another Merfolk deck. I definitely wanted to lead on Esper Sentinel, but knowing that it's probably another Merfolk deck, I'm just going to Portable Hole their Aether Vial. Just how I'm feeling in the moment. So when they play a cavern named Merfolk, so we are playing against another Merfolk deck, probably a Lord of Atlantis or one of the Tide Shaper. Okay, so turning this into an island, kind of annoying, but better than like our Cavern of Souls. So oh, another portable hole. So oh boy. So if we play Ragran Triome, we don't get to play anything. We play Cavern of Souls. We could name Artificer and play these. That's probably what we're gonna do. Name Artificer. White, blue, and I think I'm going to lead on. What does this do? Whenever one or more artifacts, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Oh, Smith probably could race this. So like we'll look at our top four, even though it's probably a little bit better to. Of course, we find it. Put 3 lands to the bottom. Their turn. So we find the Thopter Foundry. The Rogran Triumph unfortunately means that we won't be able to cast it next turn. If they play like one of the dumb lord that lets you essentially like 4 spike non-creature spells would kind of be terrible, but it's what it is. Tide Shaper, cool. So, we have beautiful islands in play. Chosen type is Artificer. Interesting, interesting. Definitely want to find an untapped like white source so we can unlock this. Of course, we draw a Metallic Rebuke. Nice. Play. Now we actually can't cast any of the cards in our hand, minus the like Metallic Rebuke. So just pass the turn. We'll be able to use the Portable Hole to improvise this counterspell and hopefully get something good. Hopefully they have like Saluna or whatever. Like just tap out for that, please. Please, I'm begging you, tap out for it. Something cool. Well, we'll take a Lord of Atlantis. We're essentially countering anything. We're kind of priced into countering whatever they play just because this Metallic Rebuke, well, mainly because they're going to start putting the pressure on us. Oh yeah, and they have Cavern Souls, duh. Whoops. I guess checking to see if Moto still works. It's not harder than it looks because I think I just kind of get caught up into talking and stuff like that, and I just end up losing sight here. So it's a very Time Raveler, so we can force them to play Tide Shaper again, and we get to draw a card. Hmm. Nope. Definitely don't want to do that. Time Raveler. Probably better to play Portable Hole, but I'd rather be a little bit more inefficient. Bounce a Tide Shaper that's on our planes. Perfect. Have another planes. Let's go play Portable Hole. Trigger our Ingenious Smith. Portable Hole the Lord. Now we at least have the option to trade with this Tide Shaper. We already control an island, so it gets the buff. Hopefully they don't have another Lord of Atlantis. That'd be kind of annoying. But next turn we should be able to, because this one is an island, we should be able to use this to play like Thopter Foundry and then Stoneforge Mystic to get Sword of the Meek, and then we kind of just get to have our way with our opponent. We know that they have another Tide Shaper, so I mean, if they really want to kill this like Teferi, I'm actually gonna let the Teferi go. They were probably thinking that they could flash in a Lord and just eat our Ingenious Smith, but I would rather them either replay the other Tide Shaper that we know about, or just have it to main phase a Lord, which they're going to play an unkicked Tide Shaper, which already has the bonus, which basically frees up our planes. Talisman. So what does that do for us? play this, boost it up to 3. I guess unless they want to flash in the other lady, then they have to sacrifice both Tide Shapers to counter it, and then, that's just super big for us. Get Stoneforge Mystic. Go get our Sword of the Meek. Then pass turn. They're going to flash in their Lord. Which is kind of annoying, but, at least the Ingenious Smith. We can kind of, like, trade off on some of this stuff. I mean, another Mutavault, so, like, they could start getting aggressive. I mean, if they decide that they want to animate one of these and get in. They animate the Summoning Sick one. Awesome. Clutch. So now if they want to actually get in with a Mutavault, they have to pay for that Mutavault. Classic mistake on Moto, just if you know that you're going to make that play, you want to right click and you can see like Summoning Sick or like newly played like that turn or whatnot. Looks like they just have another Lord. Okay. 8, 10. Yeah, it probably would have been lethal if they just had, what they wanted to play. We will kill a Tide Shaper. And now we kind of want to just draw a land. Just because we want as much mana as possible to opponent. And they choose to kill the Stoneforge Mystic. Land, the worst land that we could have drawn, but a land nonetheless. So if we go to 4, we can go up to 7. Of course, if we pay, they have to sack 2 things in order to counter. So if we shock, go to 4, we play our thing. They have to sack 3 things if they want to stop it. If not, we get to go to 7. They keep their things around, but then like we're just making 5 things a turn. Sword. Also makes our Ingenious Smith a 4/4. They should have definitely just left our Stoneforge Mystic around. But then again, I guess if they thought that they wanted to counter this, they could get rid of that. So could I play Talisman? We only go up to 6. They have 4, 8, 4, 8, 12. Make 3. Yeah, I think we just have to pass. I think we just live if we do 6. 6, we make 2, block, block, block. 4, we're at 6. Get to draw a card with this, but if they draw a card, then... Alright, does he have activate? So they're probably just going to go activate, activate. Sack this, make a 1/1. Sack this, make a 1/1. Also gets to be like a 2/3, so like we do technically get to block a Hex Catcher and not die. I wish I could yield always yes to this. Make things faster. This also lets us trigger our Ingenious Smith every turn, which is pretty sweet. Beautiful thing is like you can't like misclick because it has to be a non-token artifact. Alright, you may go to your attack step, opponent. They just want to get in with these, like we just eat one of them. So actually, do we have an option? So I'm going to eat, block, block, block. I think I'm fine with that. We get to kill two of these. Kill two of these. We take two, go to 5, and then they're just left with this, and then we get to gain 5 life and make 5 dudes every turn. Well, we're gonna play the talisman, and we'll make 4 to then eventually go up. Yeah, and from there we just win the game. Oh, actually we draw the Urza, so knowing that they have no cards in hand, this is actually would have been infinite on our next turn, just to slam the Urza and then just make a bunch of, gain a bunch of life so we don't die and then have enough tokens to kill them. So pretty sweet. Unfortunately, didn't get to actually see it, but that next turn we were going to be able to do it. So this matchup, we just played it, so I'm going to bring in these cards. Probably can cut an Urza. Probably cut Urza and Rebukes. I think at least with the Relic of Progenitus, it could just like draw us a card. Also gets up the artifact count, so that's pretty sweet. So this hand basically does nothing. So like it's going to be super reactive, like playing Portable Hole and then probably just like taking a turn off and then playing to Fairy. We're gonna try it. We're just in the business of bad keeps. So hopefully this go turn 1 Aether Vial. Yeah. What do we got? Not sure what else. All right, Talisman, cool. So then we can do this hole. And next turn we get to go Talisman Shadow Spear, and guarantee get to play our Teferi next turn. Oh, so this is Spreading Seas. Okay, that's fine. Tide Shaper obviously would have been better for them because then they start putting pressure on us sooner. So kind of fine with them just like getting a fresh card. Talisman. Kind of ramp us up a little bit. Play the Shadow Spear. If we ever draw a Urza Saga, that's going to be pretty good for us. This turn, no matter what, like we just get to play Roger and Triome. Doesn't look like they either have something that they want to play, so it's fine. We can just pass. It's a fairy backup, you say? An island. We actually get to keep up Metallic Rebuke, so if they decide to flash in like their lord, we actually just get to counter it and just like be huge tempo play. We'll actually tick this up. We don't get to cycle that, but we do get to counter something. So like now they just have to play at sorcery speed. So we're probably, well, they have Cavern Souls. They didn't use Cavern though. And I'm only countering this just because it's going to give us a decent amount of tempo. I don't want to like bounce a Spreading Caesar hand, and that just wins us the match. I'm assuming that they didn't have anything really going on. And to be fair, we probably weren't either. Just like even drawing like Sword, or like we could have cycled Roger and Triome, and we would have found like a Razor Tide Bridge. So we definitely weren't doing anything for a while, but good to see that our opponent probably wasn't going to either. So that'll do it for that match. So hopefully, our third and final game is not against another Merfolk deck. It's starting to get obviously pretty redundant. Want to try to get at least one match against someone different. So this hand, bunch of white mana. I mean, I guess we can play like Esper Sentinel turn 1, or we can play like Roger and Triome and then kind of go out from there. We're going to be on the play, so I think I'm going to keep this and kind of see what we have going on. I am going to lead on Esper Sentinel turn 1. With the Aganjo, we're able to go like Stoneforge Mystic. Hopefully, like we just draw like more lands. Untapped breeding pool, noble hierarch. Not exactly sure what this could be yet. Pithing needle. Let's start off by attacking. I mean, basically free unless they feel the need to save a point of damage, which I do not see why they would. Um, Man, this is where I kind of wish we had sword in the main. That would be pretty sweet. Uh, I'm gonna play the Stoneforge Mystic. I've decided this is what I want to do with my life. Yes, we'll go get our Sword of the Meek and say go. This way we're able to play tap Lance Sword and just kind of, oh, they're infect. Oh boy. That's not good. Mm-mm-mm. Well, let's lead on Pithing Needle. Alright, so we can name Ink Moth. Ink Moth Nexus. So now they can tap it for mana, but they can't activate it. Play this land tapped. And try to get them dead. Definitely, if they kept their hand based solely on an Inkmoth Nexus, it's going to end up being pretty bad for them. That being said, I guess if they want to block and then use like a pump spell, they'll have to pay like more mana, which might be fine. They could basically just decide like what they want to do here. But I also want to try to like just pressure their life total. Eventually, if we get to a point where we have Thopter Sword online, we can just kind of go nuts. So they might just be debating on like blocking and then using like a pump spell or whatever to essentially trade that in some tempo, maybe. We'll see what they do. Definitely want to draw another land. This looks like Glistener Elf. Oh, Rancor. Okay. So then they have to pay 1 if they don't want me to draw a card, unless they just really need a bunch of mana, which apparently they do. We draw, so then this ends up hitting us for 3 at the current moment. They scale up, they can hit us for 9. Yeah, you got it. Probably willing to just portable hole this. So let's put you in the hole. Alright. Blossoming Defense. Trigger. Now you don't want me to draw the card. Blue, white. Play the Foundry. Really just want to draw, like, just draw lands. At this point, if we draw another land and it makes blue mana, we can Urza, and then we actually have enough artifacts to tap to make mana to play a sword and then just go infinite with flyers and essentially force them to kill us. And it seems like they're on the damage plan anyway, so could possibly work. I don't know what counterspells that in fact could be playing nowadays. Might of Old Crosia. Well, draw Time Raveler, which is not the best thing for us. They played a land, so like Groundswell could go up to 4. It could be 11. Already has Trample. So I think the difference between 11 and 10 is no different. Come on, blue land. Auto war counts, so we'll see if our opponent has it. If not, then we just get to make gain infinite life when they're solidly on the damage plan. So unless they're able to like bounce needle, distortion strike this, and then do a bunch of other things, then that's gonna be GG's. Do you have a counter for sword? Alright, so here's the combo. Sack this. Make a 1/1. Wish I could always make it yes. So then tap for mana. Sack this. And our opponent is going to make us play it out. Which I guess I don't blame them, but just uh, you'll always yield to bring it back. So just gonna be doing this for a hot minute. Make our opponent do some stuff because like we can do this at instant speed. So like if they just have like a way where like they try to like do this, we end up like just making a ton of tokens and winning the game that way. Unfortunately, not having anything to do with like infinite blue mana, but like we just also have like a huge construct. So yep, and we win the game. Cool, awesome. Glad that we actually finally got to show off the 3-card combo, which is really sweet. Now, Infect, probably bring in Solitude. I don't know how good Damping Sphere actually would be. Flusterstorm might be a better card than probably these Metallic Rebukes. Which of these white cards? Sword of Fire and Ice, probably not that good. Hollow Moonlight does nothing, that does nothing. We'll try it like that. While I give more power to our opponent for essentially making us want to like click it out and play it out, I think essentially if like you're dead and in a case like this where we're not playing it through a league, we're just trying the deck out and stuff because I'm not going to burn money when I am very not confident with this deck. Um, that you could probably just concede to the loop once we demonstrate it. I at least personally for me, it's not worth the time, effort, and headache to just like hope that maybe someone like misclicks, especially on that combo where like the misclick could just be us failing to return our sword, but then it kind of doesn't matter because we can just get our sword back. So we'll keep this hand. We have a portable hole to interact with a Glistener Elf on turn one, and then Solitude, to if we really need to pitch the Thopter Foundry. Beginning the game with 7 cards in hand. They mulligan to 6. Definitely if they go to like a 4 or 5 card hand, they're not going to be able to be too particularly, picky with the hands. So hopefully, looks like they, yep, went to 6. If they have a protection spell in hand, I would like to see them hold it, and it looks like they're either going to have a. Let's see what we got here. We can just go Flooded Strand. We just go get a tap land. We have nothing we really want to play on turn one. Obviously, because the portable hole won't do anything. Stoneforge Mystic. We actually have two of our three combo pieces. Our two main combo pieces essentially right here. Hopefully they. It looks like if it's blue mana, they're going for a Blighted Agent. Sure, we'll fetch. Hollow Fountain tapped. Kind of hope we draw like a 1-drop. That'd be kind of sweet. Esper Sentinel, that counts. Wish that I could play this Urza Saga, but is what it is. They somehow have like a free way to like protect this. At least like the Esper Sentinel will let us draw a card. We'll see what our opponent does from here. At least now we have the ability to play an Urza Saga next turn, play our Stoneforge Mystic. Kind of regret now like playing Viridian Corruptor. Alright, so what they can either destroy our hole or destroy our Sentinel. Destroy our hole, cool. Bridge. I'm going to play the Saga, so hopefully we can work towards like a Pithing Needle. Play the Stoneforge Mystic. Still getting to leave up our Solitude. And then we'll probably go and get Sword of the Meek. Just because then if we never have to pull the trigger on it, then we're just able to kill like whatever thing they go all in on. So like we essentially have to answer one of these like infect creatures without removal, as long as we get to like live for like the Inkmoth Nexus. Distortion Strike. Sure, would you like to pay 1 so I don't draw a card? Absolutely love it if they would like load up on the Viridian Corruptor. Important thing to know, you do not want to interact with Infect during the combat step. Essentially, if it's a non-lethal amount of poison, then you just want to let them do their thing. Groundswell, +4/+4, 7, 8. Yeah, because if we try to stop them here and they have like Blossoming Defense, then like we die. 8 poison technically does not kill us. So now I will evoke this. So now if they have a way to protect it, then, we just kill that. But like we're not even gonna like go after this. We're gonna go after their Blighted Agent. Just because like we cannot do anything about that. So Solitude that. Probably deciding if they want to defend it or not. And if they do, they probably should. Just because this thing is going to win the game over like the next few turns, which I guess they don't. So we'll go to our turn. Chromatic Star. Both our lands come into play tapped. Unfortunate, but at least here now we get to make a construct. Oh, they just get to rebound Distortion Strike. Fair's fair, ripperoni, pepperonis. If they're not saying anything in chat. So I guess they get the decision if they want to cast it or not. So we can let them decide if they want to do that or not. They're really tanking hard on lethal here for this distortion strike, so just gonna sit here and wait. So check out the sideboard. I don't know if I want any of like the metallic rebukes or any of the other like rebukes and stuff in. None of this other stuff like really matters. Like the thing is that Infect is just not a deck that people play typically. I mean, not that it's like not any good. It's just very, I think, very poorly positioned given the amount of decks that just play like tons and tons of removal. And we're a deck that's not really playing like a lot of removal versus like, Murktide and like Grixis Shadow and the like Yawgmoth decks just kind of like eat up these other decks. They decided not to cast Distortion Strike. They put the what did they do with it? They didn't cast it. Do they just have like animate Ink Moth and Lethal You? What do you got? I'm assuming they just have like a pump spell. Like, yeah. I wonder if they let us draw a card from this. Alright. There's probably nothing that we could have drawn, but it is what it is. Won't waste our opponent's time any longer. I don't think I like any of these other cards, so we're going to just submit. Hope that we can win this game and go 3-0 with this deck in the video. That would be awesome. I want die roll. I would like to play first. So improvise. You can use your artifacts. We can actually keep up a turn 2 Metallic Rebuke. So I think we can go Plains Sentinel and kind of punish them for like with how we have it set up. We can go Island Go, and they'll do a thing and they'll have Esper Sentinel, so then they'll have to like pay for Esper Sentinel, let's draw a card, and then like if they choose to pay, then like Metallic Rebuke kind of just like shuts them down. Probably the hardest Metallic Rebuke uh, telegraph ever, and I'm only saying that because if our opponent kind of knows what's up, then they'll play around it. Rogren Triome. So we can go Cavern. We'll name Human. Oh no, we should probably name Artificer. Right, we'll name Artificer so we can cast Stoneforge Mystics and stuff. That said, we can go Pithing Needle. Name Ink Moth Nexus. We can now get in with the Esper Sentinel because we have the Pithing Needle. And we're probably just countering anything that they decide to play. Like if they just play like Viridian Corruptor. Oh yeah. Let's counter that. And then if we draw an untapped land, then we just get to play an Urza. Of course, not an untapped land, but nonetheless. We do get to cycle this Triome. Won't let me cast it. Gotcha. So that's why our opponent was tanking on lethal. They actually wouldn't let them cast the whatever it was, Distortion Strike in game 2. So now if they have a second Viridian Corruptor, that's going to be pretty bad. I don't think they play more than one Viridian Corruptor. It'd be very unlucky for us if they played 2 and then actually saw 2 of them in their match. Or in our match, I guess. Not totally impossible, but it would be very unlucky to say the least. So if our opponent's like saying anything in our little chat box, but cycle the Triome, draw Saga. right when this is an Artificer, right? All right, cool. Boop. Urza, make a construct. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can just get in with this. This will slowly let us get some value like over time. Also the fact that like we're gonna have this Urza Saga. If our opponent doesn't really have anything to do, then they're gonna be in a world of trouble. Because even next turn, 5. Currently have 5 mana, 6, 7, 8, 9. Could we construct 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Alright, so make a construct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can actually make a construct and then play a Cauldra next turn. Jeez. Tap. Another Urza. So our life total is going to be super not relevant. So we will make a construct. I was gonna say, how did I end up being short? But I didn't see that. Untap. Let's play Cauldra. You know, they could counter it and kind of punishes us for taking a turn off, but if they don't have anything to deal with this, then, you know, we're just going to kill them on the next turn. Assuming our opponent is probably typing something in chat or debating on doing something, I guess. Hurkyl's Recall, that would kind of suck. That bounces. Bridge, Needle. Yep, Hurkyl's Recall. Tilt. Should. Oh, no, cancel. Play this. Name Inkmoth Nexus. Pass the turn. Kind of a blowout, but we still get the Pithing Needle down, so then we can name these Inkmoth Nexuses. They play a Blighted Agent, sure. Probably just like flush with like pump spells. Another Urza. Oh, what the heck do we do here? Make a construct. So we can get an Aether Spell Bomb. Play this Bridge. Cast an Esper Sentinel. And if our opponent decides they want to block and pump to like get rid of this Urza, that would honestly be super clutch. And we'll say go. Getting dinged for 1 poison each turn isn't going to matter when we're going to be hitting them super hard with what we have. So definitely the key being that we do not want to interact until we absolutely have to on this. So like even if we just like spell bomb, and the cool thing is that we can actually tap the spell bomb for mana for itself. I'd imagine if they pay the one, yeah, no reason not to. If they go like might, then it's good for us. Definitely don't want to interact with us before combat. And if they just try to like go for it, even though they're very obvious spell bomb. All right. I mean, if they have like triple mutagenic growth and then like a way to protect it, then that's unfortunate for us. Turn agent to the hand. They more than likely have a protection spell for it, so yep, Vines. And definitely not out of the woods. Shadow Spear. Five, six, seven, eight. Actually, is this lethal? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cauldra, 6. Yeah, this is lethal. Cauldra. Living Weapon. And definitely did not miss lethal there. First strike from the token and kill them. So I don't think it mattered if we play that, but I mean, like, getting to play the Shadow Spear was free because of Urza and stuff. So yeah, that was actually a great match to end up on. So I will meet you all at the end for the wrap up of the deck. So we played our 3 matches. Unfortunately, had some redundancy playing Merfolk twice and getting to play against Infect. So playing against 2 matchups that you're probably not very likely to see in Modern, but that is, the life of the format. You don't always play Murktide and Hammer and stuff like that. Sometimes you get some weird odds and ends stuff, and a lot of the time you will see like people playing Merfolk on Magic Online because it is pretty cheap, I believe, and also just a super aggressive deck. And as you saw, like, we did handle the super aggressive deck like very well, and we ended up winning all 3 games or all 3 matches that we ended up playing. The Infect deck got a little dicey towards the end, but we were able to cobble together something to actually win. So overall, I definitely like how natural it felt like playing this deck. You definitely, while it is a combo deck, and I have different rules and different disciplines I have for playing combo decks that are generally more dedicated to comboing more so than like Yawgmoth, where you're kind of an aggro deck first and then you can backdoor into a combo, or vice versa depending on the matchup and things like that. It felt very natural playing this deck. Like, I could just search and go and get pieces when I needed to, and then there was just enough stuff to kind of like delay the game long enough to where either I had enough mana to play Thopter Foundry and the sword, make a few Thopters, hold me over to the next turn, and then after that we were just absolutely burying our opponents. We did actually get a win where we assembled Urza, Thopter Foundry, and Sword of the Meek, and obviously it won us the game. Urza also by itself, getting to be super huge, actually was super clutch against Hercules Recall in the 3rd match and stuff, to then eventually just kind of win the game. And the construct that it made was definitely something that was a big enough of a threat that our opponent like had to absolutely deal with and stuff. So This deck was sweet. I implore you to go explore and play it because I had a lot of fun doing so, and it might be a deck that I play a little bit more of in the future, just as like a fun deck to play in Modern. You don't have to be serious all the time, I suppose. Definitely not a deck that I would register for like a tournament without definitely getting some reps in and understanding some of the other matchups better. But that's kind of like my general rule of thumb for most decks anyway. So if you enjoyed the gameplay and you want to see more stuff like this, obviously be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you know I post videos like this. In the description of this video, I have two different links. One goes to my Twitch channel, where you can go and follow me and catch me when I go live playing other stuff, possibly other than Magic, sometimes playing Magic. Also, that there's a link in the description to the Discord server that I run if that is something you want to do. Talk to me about this deck, maybe some of the decks you see on my channel, or whatever modern deck that you're deciding to play, or Pioneer. Whether either format, one of the two, don't matter. I just enjoy talking about Magic. That's just me. So yeah, that's gonna do it for me in this video. I hope you all enjoyed the matches, and I hope to see you all in the next video.